Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the Speed Street Podcast. We appreciate those who are tuning in around the entire planet, around wherever you're living. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on the Spotifys or the Apples or the Podbeans or whatever, wherever people listen to podcasts. I apparently that's a place. I just heard about it recently. I don't know. There's a lot of places you can listen to podcasts. We appreciate you listening. My name is Connor Daly. If you don't know me, hello. I am an IndyCar racing driver for Juncos Hollinger Racing, the number 76. This was the Tired of Pricks Chevrolet this weekend. Thanks to Mankind for being on board with us this weekend. And they're going to be on our car for the next race, too. We're going to have some continuity, 2 races in a row in the Tired of Pricks wagon. InhaleMyInsulin.com. It's going to be a beautiful car at a beautiful racetrack at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Not this weekend, but next weekend, primetime Sunday night racing. We have a race to talk about that just happened in Detroit. My least favorite track on the schedule, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But we will also get to interview a person not named Alex Palou. So that's great. We finally can celebrate another winner. Oh, wait. Kyle is actually the only other winner that we've spoken to. Kyle Kirkwood won at Long Beach. He's obviously a winner here in Detroit. He's the street king. He's so much of a street king that he probably could have been in all the Fast and the Furious movies. He's that good of a street course racer. Kyle is with us. Alex Palou had a DNF, so that was wild to see. I think a lot of us probably in the field were like, "Oh my gosh, something bad happened to this guy. That's crazy." So we get to talk to Kyle about how he won the race and all the strategy activities. I'll give you a little bit about our weekend. There was some, obviously, lots of interesting things to talk about from Detroit. We had a lot of internet arguments after the race, too, which is classic street course racing. We had Will Power do something to Kyle Kirkwood in practice that I have truly never seen before in open wheel cars. So, yeah, a lot to talk about. But Chase, my co-host Chase Holden is here, big IndyCar fan, as we know, and we are all obviously continuously learning more. Chase, what did you think of the Detroit weekend activities?
How much time you got, dog?
Well, we got a whole episode.
This was, for me, the most entertaining race of the season. 1,000%.
Oh, wow. Over the 500?
Yeah. The 500 is in a category of its own. But when we're looking at races outside of the Indy 500, this was the most entertaining race of the season. There were a lot of people that agreed. I ended up putting up a poll. Pretty much everybody in the world said it was a great race. So
love that.
I stole that from Jeff Gluck. Shout out Jeff. I'm going to start doing what you do for NASCAR and IndyCar now. I watched every minute of the race here in the International Chase Station. Just a lot of cautions that caused a lot of interesting things to happen. We like restarts. Kyle Kirkwood getting this win. It's like you wanted to believe for a moment Palou would get it, but Palou wrecking out of this race is not the reason that Kyle Kirkwood won the race. And I feel like everyone should know that.
Great point.
If you didn't know that, now you know. A lot of people call him the street king. He is the street shark. He was sharking it out there in the waters of the streets of Detroit. Very proud of him. I'm sure we're going to get into some different topics throughout this, but just first thing that I want to know, you were out there on the track, you were racing. The biggest thing that I heard all weekend was about how tight this track was. Connor, how tight was this track?
Whew, yeah, I want to say this as basically like as politically correct as I can be, and I truly believe that our cars and then look, what Penske Entertainment have done and Chevrolet, obviously we're a Team Chevy team, and we want to be able to win for Chevrolet. And we like the Belle Isle race in Detroit was one of my favorite events. I still have a trophy from it right behind me. That's one of my proudest moments, to stand on the podium with Juan Pablo Montoya and Sebastian Bourdais, my rookie year in IndyCar. So many good moments from Belle Isle, and it's a shame that we can't race there. But I don't. First of all, I don't believe that having this race directly after the 500 is a great look. Now, again, I know that people will, there's people in our upper management who this is where it has to be on this weekend. Like, that's cool. I get it. And again, I don't get paid to make these decisions. Obviously, I don't get paid really much to do anything at all except do a podcast. So that's really fun. But I look at this track and I look at our cars, and I've seen better races and better racing elsewhere, and I don't believe this is a great look for our racing series, to be honest. Now, again, Pato was out there talking some wild stuff too. It's just a bit. I don't know. And I say this with the utmost respect. Obviously, there's so many people who put in a lot of work to make this event happen. And I mean, they've paved a bunch of different things. They've tried to do a lot to the roads to make it better. But I mean, we still have to drive all the way down the inside of the back straight to make sure we don't ramp through the air on the straightaway. It's the bumps are just wild. The surface differences are just really difficult to make happen. And again, there's really only going to be a couple happy people, the folks on the podium, obviously. But I just feel as though if we're going to do something like this, my vote is obviously Michigan Superspeedway. Like, if we want to race in Michigan, we got to go to the Oval, right? Now, that. Again, I have heard that I'm probably in the minority of thinking that, but that would be my goal.
What?
And oh, yeah. Apparently, some drivers are still, a bit, they're not really super thrilled about, obviously, just the safety aspect, which, again, I think we could easily race there in a safe manner. I think these cars are taking some pretty big hits at the Indianapolis 500. I don't know if you're going to be hitting much harder than that.
There you go.
But also, I don't even know if there's a way to get back to Belle Isle. I mean, I think that with the way nature and the folks out there have decided things, that they wanted to take the race off of Belle Isle. Maybe there's a way to renegotiate that and we can figure it out. But because I just think I don't want to not race in Detroit. I love that area. We love Chevrolet, what they've done, and Penske Entertainment. But it's just this track, I believe it doesn't. Some of the overtaking moves that you have to do, some of the ways you have to drive and practice, what we saw with Will Power and Kyle Kirkwood, like him just literally using his car like a shovel to get a car out of the way. I mean, this is a premier auto racing series, right? Like, this is, this is IndyCar racing. We just did the biggest event in the largest attended single day sporting event in the world. And, then Will Power is using his car like a shovel the next race. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's a tough one for me. And again, I might get some flack for this, but I have an opinion, and my opinion is, literally not looked at by anyone I don't think my thoughts and opinions are not held to any standard at Penske Entertainment or anything, because they're smarter than me. Completely understand. But
you might be selling yourself short.
No, I don't know. I just think that these cars and our series and the drivers, I just think that it just, that track, it's just not it. It's just not it. And so again, maybe people can disagree with me for sure. I mean, it did seem to be an exciting event, but as a driver out there, when you can't pass unless you really want to, like, the only way you can pass at Detroit is if you either get a run down the back straight and you happen to get, the right move around turn 3. Anywhere else, though, if you're going to pass someone, you're going to wreck them. You're going to either wreck them or wreck yourself, and then get a penalty for wrecking. Even Scott McLaughlin's deal when he sent Nolan Siegel into the wall, that was a wild one. But the cars, the surfaces are so slick and so bumpy that you can't actually make it's harder to make educated decisions on where to pass, because it's such a risk to actually put yourself offline, because the surfaces are so slippery that you kind of have to, like Scott had to take the momentum when he did, because if he didn't, he was either going to crash or obviously crash someone else. So
it's either him or Siegel. Yeah,
it was either him or Siegel. Yeah, and so and we saw it with Malukas, like David Malukas going into the back of Alex Palou. That's because right inside there is no grip on that surface, zero, and he might have been able to get away with that at another track. Obviously, maybe a little bit of a bump in the rear, but again, there's no exit room. So Palou has to go straight into the wall. So it's just, excuse me, it just becomes a little bit difficult. And, I obviously can have my own opinion of it because our car, we struggled so much. We had no grip the whole weekend, and it was a battle. And I appreciate our guys for working hard through the whole weekend to try to give us a better race car, which we did get a better race car in the end. But yeah, it just doesn't seem like a place that, there's no like high speed IndyCar turns. You know what I mean? It's just all first gear. Everything is slow, and it's tough. So anyway, that's my opinion on it. I mean, Chase, you obviously thought it was entertaining, but is that because of the beating and banging, or what do you think? I mean, if it showed on TV well, then maybe my whole opinion is completely irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean, well, I do know this, like, it got like a 80% on the poll I did. It was like 80% said it was a good race, 20% said no.
All right.
I think that it mainly has to do with just providing like a suspense, like, okay, we got another restart. What's going to happen here? Who's going to get caught up? There were some wrecks. There were some crashes. Like, that adds drama and suspense. I think if anything, we've learned that an American audience loves a little bit of entertainment with their sport. And, when me coming from the NASCAR world, everybody in the NASCAR, they love a little shake up, every now and then of like turning of the tide or some types of on tracks events that can change everything in a second.
Drama.
Yes. And starting with the whole Will Power thing, like, obviously not what you want to do, but it made a lot of people just be like, holy shit, you don't see stuff like this like all the time.
F1 would never. Are you kidding me? They'd never see that front wing again.
So from that aspect of it, like, I definitely say, like, yeah, it was entertaining. It's good to see people were like talking about it a lot because of all of the chaos that did happen from that track being the way that it is. However, there's another side of it. And that other side of it is that you're in that race car and you're driving and you're with a bunch of other guys that are in that race car driving, and you're looking at this from a completely different view than a fan's looking at it from. And you got to be able to respect that side of it. And
I could be wrong. Like, again, I'm always open to admitting that I'm wrong, but I think the majority of the drivers in the paddock, I mean, it is a circuit, but I don't think it's a racetrack. And I just don't think it's,
right.
I'm looking at the results, right? And the average speed is 81 miles an hour for most of the field. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
exactly.
Man, that's tough. Like that's just not a racetrack. You know what I mean?
Right. Do you think that maybe if they change, like, does it need a layout change? Like, what do you think could be some solutions, like, from Connor Daly's perspective, to make the track better?
But that's the thing, right? You have to go off of city streets. And so right now they're working with what they've got. And I really don't know if there is a change to be made. I don't know that because I don't know how, running a city works or a road system. But
not a municipality.
Yeah, I'm not a municipality guy. Yeah, but I would love to just have it because I know that they just signed a new deal and that it's going to be back for a while. But I just think that we still haven't even got to a worst case scenario. Like, last year's race was insane. There was like 50 laps of caution almost.
Yeah.
Like, that's horrible.
That's pretty bad.
That's because of, rain and stuff like that. But the only way to pass someone is to hit someone almost. And it's not the only way, but there's just too much opportunity for it to go bad and for it to look wrong. And we haven't even got to a worst case scenario with the double file pit lane. I think that's still one of the craziest things ever. I'm okay with it from an entertainment standpoint. Hey, maybe it looks cool. But if you get a yellow flag pit stop and everyone has to pit, you're going to have a bottleneck at the end of pit lane, and everyone's going to stop, but someone's going to try to hit someone. And so it's just one of those things that it doesn't look very professional in my opinion. But maybe I'll get a lot of flack for saying that. And look, I'm sorry, but I just think that I would love to, race in Detroit, and let's figure out a way to make it either faster or longer or something. Cause even the lap right now it's only a minute long, right? And St. Petersburg that's a shorter lap, but St. Petersburg has some good medium speed corners. It's got some good passing zones. You've got, a little bit of high speed here and there, and the surface is better. Maybe if they literally just paved the entire track, maybe it's better. Maybe if you do what F1 does, when F1 creates a street course, they go in and literally pave a street course. Las Vegas, for example. They redid the road system for Formula One. Maybe if we somehow find probably $100 million to do that, maybe that's what we do. But I think if you do that, maybe it's better, because right now the bumps are so outstanding and so insane and the surface, like the concrete, it's just not a good surface for racing. Now turn 3 is, because that's tarmac. That's a better surface. Turn 3 is okay. I was happy with turn 3. That grip's fine.
At least you have one turn. But you should at least have like enough time to at least like cover some potholes up, right? I feel like that's like a very important thing if you're going to be running a street course race. Like you want to make sure the infrastructure is good.
Yeah, I mean they definitely have improved it since I was there in 2023. Mm-hmm. But you shouldn't have to drive down the straight all the way down on the inside, because if you go somewhere else, you might almost lose control of the car. You know what I mean? Like that's tough. And the manhole covers and the way it is, it's just now that I mentioned it, honestly, that is the solution. Is you have to do what you did to Las Vegas, which again, Formula One has a lot more money than we do, and I'm Penske's already spent so much money on our sport, and we're very thankful for that. I just hope that there is a solution to make it better, because obviously we are coming back and they've done a lot, but I just think it's just not a good racetrack, and I wish that we could give the fans there a better show, even though some people found it enjoyable. So anyway, that's purely my opinion on it. I've obviously seen a lot of drivers, and I think there's a lot of drivers who not everyone's going to go out there and speak publicly about what they think. But I have a podcast, so I guess I kind of have to. There was a lot of people out there actually at the racetrack, and shout out to all those who came to the event. People asked me about Belle Isle, and I was like, I love Belle Isle. They're like, yeah, we do too. And I was like, oh man, yeah, Belle Isle was a great spot. But yeah, so that's kind of what I thought. But I want to let's get into a little bit about the results. We haven't read through the results yet. Let's just get right into the results of the race so we can read through it and kind of go through the weekend a little bit. Kyle Kirkwood wins. Santino Ferrucci, his first podium ever, second place. They nailed the strategy. At these street courses. Look, oddly enough, my first podium in IndyCar was on a street course due to a great strategy call by our team. So I've been in this situation before. We were also quite fast on that race weekend. But yeah, Santino had struggled all weekend long, and they made the right strategy call. He stayed up front, finished second. So congrats to those guys. Colton Herta third. He was the pole sitter. Will Power fourth. Kiffin Simpson fifth. Kiff Dog out there with a top five.
Look out.
Wild. Again, when I saw him, so I later on in the race, right before our last stop, I saw Kiffin come out of the pits in front of me, like right in front of me, and then it went yellow, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's going to be perfect for those guys.
Yeah.
And I know how this racing works so well that I was like, I can't believe that we didn't pit just before, and also that, that was going to be the move of the race. So,
dice rolls, man.
These street races are just crazy, man. Because like Kiffin was kind of back with us at the beginning of the race, and there was a group kind of struggling to go anywhere really, and Kiffin was part of that. And then you flip your race, and he still had to hold some people off, and he did it. So yeah, top 5 day for Kiffin Simpsons. That's a career day for him. A lot of points for them as well in the championship. But man, street course strategy is just a wild one. So P6 was Marcus Armstrong. Similar strategy. I believe I saw Marcus come out of the pits as well. Good strategy call from those guys. Pato Award was 7th. He obviously started towards the back, so he had a good race through the field. Christian Lundgaard was 8th. Joseph Newgarden was 9th. He obviously started in the back. He started just in front of me in 24th, and I was hoping to just follow him the whole time because I knew those guys would strategize their way up there, and they did. Now, I have zero idea how Joseph held on. He was the only one to do I believe, 2 stops. Yeah, he was the only one to do 2 stops, which I have zero idea how he made it on the green tires at the end. I think the red flag and all the yellow laps helped him a huge amount, so a little bit lucky 100%. There. And I know that Alexander Rossi had been struggling kind of all weekend with his car as well, who finished 10th, so maybe he wasn't quite as under threat as maybe if someone else was behind him. Scott Dixon was 11th. Scott McLaughlin 12th, obviously after his penalty for shunting Nolan. Marcus Ericsson, he put out on the internet that he had a damper fail. He had a shock failure early on in the race. Trust me, I know how that goes. That's a tough one. So Marcus Ericsson 13th. Kind of wild, but Marcus Ericsson and I are tied in the championship right now, which is crazy. I mean, if you would have told me that me and Marcus Ericsson would be tied in the championship, after 7 or 8 rounds or 7 rounds or whatever it is, that's kind of wild. We both need to have a good couple races here. David Malukas is 14th, obviously after his penalty. Stingray Robb 15th. Robert Schwartzman 16th. Me 17th. Jacob Abel 18th. He tried to do something wild at the end of the race that we'll tell people about. Nolan Siegel 19th. Graham Rahal 20th. A lot of issues for those guys. Obviously Felix Rosenquist in the big shunt with Louis Foster. I have something to say about that one too. Devlin DeFrancesco, he had a whole range of issues. Christian Rasmussen, he actually had a good day going for him. Apparently I saw that. And he led some laps. But ended up 24th with a failure of some kind. Alex Palou, 25th. Whoo!
Rough.
Can't believe that. Callum Ilott and then Renus VK with a mechanical failure as well.
Another tough one.
Yeah, tough one for Renus. Renus and Michael Cannon, those guys over there, I mean, they've got a whole new engineering program. Jacob Abel looked like an entirely new driver. I mean, he had his best qualifying. He had his best race going for a while. I will say he was quite annoying on the last stint because he pitted for new green tires for that last little run to the checkered. And he was very fast for like the first 5 laps. And then his tires went off like crazy and it was so annoying. And I got shuffled out and lost a position due to trying to pass him. So
the Michael Cannon
he looked like a hero for 5 minutes. He did look like a hero for about 5 minutes, 5 laps. But you had to take the gamble. I actually wish that we had taken the same gamble. If we had brand new green tires for the last stint, I thought that would have been really fun. But yeah, we didn't get to make that gamble.
It's the Michael Cannon deal, right? This is Michael Cannon coming back.
Michael Cannon's magic is back.
Yeah.
And I think the Dale Coyne Racing team is going to be very, very competitive at certain places throughout the rest of the year. And that's a really strong move from Dale to make it happen for his drivers. And that's impressive. That's a team owner who wants to get better. And I respect that. Let's talk a little bit about the Felix and Louis Foster crash, because I don't want to talk. My race is almost irrelevant. I mean, we started on okay, I'll talk about my race first. Real quick.
Yeah, talk about
your race. We get a little bit into it. We started on primaries because I think a lot of the people who started on primaries were basically looking at Long Beach and thinking all those cars that started on primaries, even though it was only like 6 of them, had the greatest day of their years. Right. And so a lot more people started on primaries, and we wanted to go long, obviously go really long, and then potentially save our greens for the end. Let's say if it goes green all the way, but obviously it did not go green all the way. We had some yellows. So the first stint was very much just kind of hanging out there. And then the end of that first stint, after we got a yellow, we had to kind of defend from Scott McLaughlin and then Kyle Kirkwood, Will Power. that was actually kind of a proud moment for our race because only Kyle Kirkwood was able to pass me because he was really good on cold tires. But we held off power the rest of that stint until we pitted. So I was like, all right, maybe we're not too bad here if this strategy can work out. But the way the yellows fell, it just wasn't meant to be for us. Stingray and I got to basically 14th and 15th by the time the red flag had come out, and we lost 2 wheel nuts on one pit stop as well, which is that's a tough one. My guys have been so good on pit lane all year, but these things happen. But yeah, that was a bit of a tough stop for us. We lost several seconds on that kind of sequence, but again, not a bad deal overall. Just these things happen in racing. But once we were kind of pitted for the red flag, I knew that we had maybe a chance to kind of come forward a little bit, but our cars were specifically really difficult on cold tires. Like we were not able to generate grip. We were not able to generate tire temperature. And, the whole weekend we struggled so much for grip. And it's easy to say, oh, just struggle for grip. But like Kyle Kirkwood will talk about it. I mean, this track specifically, when I try to tell people about like mechanical grip, well, the damper program, the dampers, the spring and dampers, the shocks, those produce the grip. And there's plenty of things you can do with, front and rear geometries, casters, cambers, toes, all kinds of things with the tires, the wheels, everything. But the damper programs are what are different about these cars, like we've mentioned before. And to generate pure mechanical grip, this track is the absolute maximum mechanical grip generation track because most of the turns, all but one, are concrete, random surfaces that are very low grip, very slick. And so if you can't drive the tire into the ground on those low grip surfaces, you're going to struggle. And we struggled. And we struggled over the bumps. The bumps were very difficult. Guess what controls the ride? The dampers. The dampers control the ride and your ride quality and how much you bounce around. And so we struggled with that. And, we definitely know where we need to, improve. And the team did improve. We started like 4 seconds off we started way outside of the game. And we ended up getting to qualifying. That was a big step forward for us. And then in the race, we actually were finally in a position to be somewhat competitive. Now, again, we did not deserve to be in the top 10, but we were right there and certainly could have fought as long as we could get tire temperature. And so Stingray and I basically were just kind of fighting it out on that last stint. And, when Jacob Abel got by both of us on his brand new green tires, it just, as soon as he got by Stingray, he then started coming backwards because his tires started going off. And we were a little bit short on 6th gear down the back straight as well. So I had a great run on both Stingray and Jacob. And I just ran into the wall of the rev limiter, which was a tough one. And I just got shuffled out. Schwartzman got by me. And then it just took me far too long to get around Jacob Abel, who was, sort of thought he was defending, but he really was kind of helpless on tires. So it was a tough one. But honestly, good job from Stingray to kind of hold on to 15th. We were definitely a little bit, I would say, quicker on the last 2 stints as we just kind of got more into it. But just a weekend that we wanted to get through as a team. And a lot of people made mistakes. And, we were able to kind of keep it a mistake-free day. We were not in the wall. We did not have anything go wrong. But yeah, so anyway, that was our day. Brutal. Can't wait to get to St. Louis. So let's talk a little bit about the Felix and Louis Foster incident. I mean, that was a crazy one. I mean, you saw that chase, and I mean, cars, a suspension failure, and then Felix flying into the wall. I text Felix. Felix then said he was in a lot of pain, and I actually texted Felix today before the show, and he said he's all good, just bruised, right? And I was like, hey, we're happy about that. But what was your thought when you saw that one?
So I'm watching the race, and you don't get to see it until the replay, but you can see where that suspension just snaps, dude. And when it snaps on Louis Foster's car, like it's all control is lost. So I mean, it was a total accident from the way it looked off the TV. And I heard Louis talk a little bit about it. He said, I've never seen anything like this happen in all of, my years of racing. And I know you said you had an interesting thought, but I mean, from our perspective, from my perspective, anybody watching on television, you really just see it just snaps out of nowhere and he just loses it completely. What is your take on it now that you've got to look at it and see that side of it, and then also maybe knowing whatever else it is that you know?
Yeah, so I saw obviously what Louis put out there about having the suspension fail, and it did. Obviously, like the suspension did fail.
Yeah,
but I was one car behind Louis. It was Louis, then Stingray, then me, and Felix was right there. And like about 2 or 3 laps earlier, I think Louis had gone side by side with Felix or Stingray. He bounced off the wall at the exit of turn 4. Like literally, I saw his car get straightened out by the wall. And so I knew that he had already hit the wall at least once. And then I believe I saw a second wall impact too, like the next lap in another corner. But without a doubt, turn 4, left side, and his left front suspension failed. But he definitely bounced off the wall in turn 4. And so, you know, that, again, I've had that happen before. So this is a prime example of, you know, these parts on the Indy cars are designed very well. And I had an issue. I had a failure in 2011 at the Indy Lights race in Baltimore, street race, right?
Wow.
Now, that failure happened. I was leading the race, I think. That failure happened after I hit the wall. And I knew that I had just scrubbed the wall, but I was like, oh, I should be fine. But on a bumpy track, if you make contact with a wall, the pieces on your vehicle are a little bit weaker when you hit a wall. So I've had that
sense.
exact same thing happen before. I know that, you know, I'm glad that everyone's all right, but you know, I would definitely, I could definitely see a couple wall impacts. Now, again, maybe, you know, maybe they look at the video and there was nothing there, but I am almost 100% sure I saw that car bounce off the wall. So
if you saw it, then that
I mean, I was right behind it. So,
down.
Yeah, I was right behind this whole incident, so I saw what was going on there. Definitely a bit of a sad situation, but, you know, a lot of cars can go through some wall impacts and be fine, but, you know, maybe that, in my opinion, that's probably what led to that suspension failure, is him just kind of is getting into the wall a little bit, doing some side-by-side racing.
Rasmussen did it too. Rasmussen was tapping that wall, you know?
So sometimes,
we saw some of the rookies.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, like we mentioned about this track, there's no room for there's almost no room for side-by-side racing. So if you try, someone's going to hit the wall. And so that's, you know, that's definitely a shame. But that was just what I wanted to say about that. I definitely, I was a first row seat for that kind of craziness. But yeah, other than that, I mean, thank God we have another winner. Crazy that we had a red flag situation. We had all kinds of stuff going on. The willpower thing in practice, by the way, I want to get to this because this I thought was really funny. And we're about to talk to Kyle Kirkwood, who's our guest. The fact that willpower straight up used his car like a shovel or a wheelbarrow or what, like some sort of wild, like, situation where he could literally push Kyle Kirkwood's car around a corner. By far one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
And you know what's even funnier? I was on my way to after free practice 1, we all have to go weigh in, and I had no idea what happened during the session. And I'm on my way to the scales on my little scooter, and Will Power's riding behind me. He's like, "Oh man, yeah, I guess Kyle Kirkwood's kind of mad at me." And I was like, "Oh yeah, what happened?" He's like, "Oh man, I straight up like pushed him like a NASCAR. It was hilarious." I'm like,
wow,
"Oh,
dude.
All right, really?" I was like, "I gotta find that."
Yeah,
he was laughing already. He thought it was the coolest thing ever. So Will Power is a hilarious human, and there was multiple meetups of us as drivers the next day, just kind of talking about it, and it was very funny. I know everyone wanted it to be like a beef situation, like they wanted to punch each other, but no one's cars were damaged. I mean, well, Kyle's floor was probably damaged, but it was very funny.
I felt like you have to have a lot of understanding and just be very precise to do what he did. I mean, they've taken
I don't think he planned it.
No.
Definitely didn't plan it, but he was like, "Yeah, once I did it, I just kept on going." I was like, "All right."
He looked
now
like
the
wizard.
real awkward thing would have been is if David Malukas turned in on those two, then it would have been a track blockage. Then it would have been like, "Oh yikes, that's not great." But
right.
that was by far one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And again, it got people talking. We need good talking moments. And Kyle Kirkwood with the Will Plower tweet was very funny. Loved Will Plower. I thought that was very, very humorous. But again, that's the nature of this track. You got to try to get clear track any way possible. You basically slow down to about 10 mile an hour, it feels like, in that corner where he was specifically pushing Kyle Kirkwood out of the way. But wild that also those guys were fighting for the win, fighting for the podium at the end of the day. And yeah, we get to hear Kyle's take on that here in a little bit. But that was very funny. I mean, that's a great clip, right? Like, Chase, you had to thought that was hilarious.
The only thing I could think of was, and if no one's done it yet, I'll probably end up doing it. Just take the footage of it and put Ludacris's move, get out the way, just like that. Because like, and it's even better at the end because like, you know, he's just got like kind of like that nonchalant, spaced out deal when he talks, and he'll just kind of be like, "Yeah, I was just looking for a gap, you know. I figured that was a great way to get one." I mean, he just like, I guess that's one way to get a gap. You know,
he did get clear track after that, which is the funny thing. Like all you have to do is because our alternate start finish line is right after that turn 7 corner. So it was like he cleared him and got straight on the gas and started his lap. So I thought it was
other creative ways? Like that's what I'm thinking now is like what other types of creative ways can Will Power create talking points for the IndyCar fan base throughout the season? Let's get more.
Oh, this was a funny moment too. I forgot to tell. I don't know if people saw this during the race. But in turn 7, speaking of that, a blue flag started flying through the air. Like one of the blue flags that the track marshals wave to let people know that there's a faster car behind them or a lap car. I went through turn 7 and there was a blue flag fully flying through the air at my car. And I was like, oh, what is that?
Oh, wow.
And then it ended up in the middle of the track as like a debris flag. But that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in the middle of a race. And I was in the middle of defending from Will Power, and Kyle Kirkwood's right in front of me. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my gosh, did I hit that blue flag? Like, I don't want that in my radiator. Like, I didn't want that anywhere. And I did one of those things where, like, I did like a duck in the car. Like, I did like a head dodge, even though obviously I'm in an aero screen. Nothing's going to hit me. But I was like, oh, man. There was a full-on blue. I don't know if it was like a gust of wind or one of the flag marshals lost their flag.
What? I didn't see it.
Oh, they might not have showed it at all. But there was a rogue blue flag that flew through the air in the middle of turn 6 and 7. And it ended up being actually like in the middle of the road, which I think they obviously picked it up eventually. But that was wild. Just a very funny moment that, again, probably no one is ever going to see. But I had a blue flag try to attack me in the middle of a corner, and I wasn't even a lap down. So I didn't know what was going on there.
Almost hit a bird, too. So like, you swerved from the flag, he swerved from the bird. You a saver of flags, he's a saver of birds.
A lot of stuff going on in Detroit, apparently.
Wild place.
I also got to say, my hotel in Detroit, I won't name them because they don't deserve any PR for this, but no outlets near the bed. I thought we all as a community decided that we got to have outlets or USB ports next to the bed because we all probably charge our phones going to sleep.
Nothing. Even the lamps?
Not even the lamps. Nothing. Zero. No outlets near the bed at all. How in modern day 2025 society have we not got there?
That's rough, dude.
Man, I've even been in like some real low quality motels and they've at least had an outlet by the bed, but nothing.
Right.
Had nothing. So anyway, that was, just small battles that we were dealing with. Small battles we were dealing with in Detroit. But
first world, baby.
We appreciate everyone who came out to that race. Obviously, it was, it was a great weather. Weather was fantastic for a good crowd there. But with that, I think let's get to the winter talk. We've got an IndyCar race as well. After a week off, though, this week off is going to be really, really helpful for the crew, for our teams. They've been on it for what feels like forever now, since the beginning of May, end of April. So it'll be good to have a week off for the crew folks and myself as well. But the next race for me is one that we are extremely excited about. Sunday night, prime time.
I'm going to be there.
Worldwide Technology Raceway in St. Louis. gosh, it's going to be awesome. But yeah, get yourself jacked up for that. We appreciate everyone who's been watching on YouTube as well and listening. The giveaway is fully on. I'm gonna give people another week probably before we announce. Maybe we'll announce the giveaway on the week off show. So again, if you're listening, awesome. If you're subscribed on the YouTube, if you like the Indy 500 episode, I got the prize right here. I got the gloves right here. I'm gonna sign them in their little bag, and then yeah, we're gonna give that away. But yeah, comments on the previous Indy 500 one, give it a watch, give it a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. But we appreciate all those folks for listening anyway, no matter where you're listening, because it all still counts when you're listening, no matter where you're listening. So thank you. All right, with that, let's get to Kyle Kirk. I almost said Alex Palou. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I literally thought we were interviewing Alex Palou again. He's won so many times.
Talk about needing a new winner, huh?
This is an Andretti, Andretti Global pilot, Kyle Kirkwood. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us the only man in the entire year of 2025 to dethrone Alex Palou, and he's done it not once, but twice. This time did you have Microsoft on your car, or this was Siemens and AWS? You were AWS. Yeah, okay. Very big partnerships. Kyle Kirkwood is the winner from the Detroit Grand Prix. The street king, as people are saying, the street course king. Kyle, great job. What a weekend, huh? What a great time.
Yeah, it was. It was fun. I'm still kicking myself though for qualifying, dude.
Did you hit the wall?
Yeah, I smoked the wall.
What corner?
Exit of 3 out of all places. Exit of 3.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
it was dumb. I was in there deep, and like I just had a little bit of understeer, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna power through this, and it was good. And then all of a sudden, right when I got next to the wall, it snapped on me. I just clipped the right rear like at that angle that it messes up the toe link, and yeah, it was brutal. And then it just finished the lap with a ruined right rear and I lost a half second from the exit of 3 to the alt start finish line, and was still 0.2 off. I was like, you got and I was really fast in that last sector too. So man, dude, I think I would have been in the 59s in that qualifying lap. I was upset.
Man, let me tell you something. As someone who struggled mightily all weekend long with a car that I thought was, we were struggling, we'll say that. And I think there were a lot of cars that were struggling because this field and this grid, I would say, was more separated than normal, right? Normally we get to a track, an IndyCar, the top 26 are within a second. I mean, you had people that were 2 seconds off the pace almost in this weekend. Can you explain to people maybe a little bit why this place is more challenging, or is it all the first gear corners? Is it it's so bumpy that you have to, if you hit the bumps luckily and right, you got to nail it? I mean, explain to people what you think of how to make it work here.
So I believe it's car dependent, right?
Yes, I agree on that one.
Yeah, I mean, like you see a lot of the tracks that we go to where it's really smooth and it's more driver or it's more aero. Like the aero efficiency on all of our cars are so similar that it doesn't really matter what you're doing that much with aero stuff. That's why we go to Indy GP and it's only like a 10th between cars, right? Like the top 10s. Like I missed transferring by 200s at Indy GP and I qualified like 21st.
No, you were right in front of me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it was like, damn it, if you just had that 200ths of a second, which is somewhere on the track, like that is so capable, and that would have been the transfer spot for us. And like those situations it's so frustrating. But then you come to a place like this where I think it is a lot more. The only thing that we can actually develop are dampers, right? And dampers are everything around a circuit like this. You need to keep the tire on the racing surface. And with these bumps, the longer your tire is on the surface, the better it is. And that all comes from dampers. So that's why you see this bigger spread in cars. And it's been like that here and some of the more bumpy street courses that we go to. Like here, Toronto are the big ones where it's like you'll see a spread of a second and a half between like the front guy and the back guy. Whereas a lot of tracks that we go to, it's only a couple of 3 or 4 tenths, right? So for me, it is car dependent, right? It definitely is. It's the damper developments, how these cars maneuver, get over the bumps, and make grip in weird ways.
I mean, I completely agree. I think that there's also, and let me know what you think about this. There's so little room at Detroit to actually let your car slide. So there sometimes you have a track where you might actually be able to get away with a little bit of wheel angle, maybe a bit of a slide and carry the speed, but there's actually no room to allow a car to do that at Detroit because it's so narrow that you have to hit your apex perfectly, get that almost V point in the corner, and go, and then that's it.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what it is, right? Like, if your car's sliding at all at this place, you just can't get to power, right? Like, you are just like waiting on the car to hook up. And if you can't get to power and you can't put traction down, you can't brake, and you have a little bit less confidence to just like attack the corner, then you're just not going to be fast. Like, that's just the name of the game.
I want to talk to you a little bit about strategy because I think in the morning warm-up, it was nice and cool. And I ran a set of green tires and I was like, oh, maybe these will last a little bit longer. We were kind of impressed that they didn't go maybe as aggressively off as we thought. You guys obviously started on the green tire. Did they last as long as you expected to, or were you immediately like, yeah, we got to get rid of these and on to the primaries?
I mean, they last for what they were. We knew that they weren't going to be the good tire. They weren't going to be the main choice, but they lasted. They didn't have like the big cliff that we were seeing at some of the other places. Like they tapered off and they were getting bad at the end, but they wasn't like, oh God, we're going to go into the wall if we don't pit on this lap, which we've seen at some other places. So they did last a little bit longer than we anticipated. We made it to the end of the window that we wanted to get to, which was good. And so I mean, they weren't awful, but they definitely were not better than the alternate or than the primary tire, right? The street course primary tire that they made is just so good, and it'll be hard for them to make a softer tire that actually lasts and makes the same lap time as the harder tire.
It's true. So talk to us a little bit about once that first yellow came out, right? Like I started on basically the opposite strategy to you. There was a lot of folks who saw what Stingray and Kiffin did in Long Beach, start on the primaries, go super long, use the overcut. Yeah. And that worked really well. However, that really only works very well if there are no yellows. But at Detroit, there's a lot of yellows because when that first yellow came out, I obviously stayed out. You guys had already pitted to get off your greens. So now I'm like, oh, great. Now I got Kyle Kirkwood behind me and I got Will Power and stuff like that. But were you guys still confident that strategy was going to work out? Because it was still quite hard to pass. Like you passed me, but that was it. That was it. What were you feeling about that at that point?
It didn't feel good. I'm not going to lie, because our strategy, because the way that it worked out, obviously everyone that was on primes at that time were going to be out front, and the time lost to pit was only 20 seconds. So the odds of the guy up front, if you're running like in that 15th range, for him to pull out a 20-second gap, especially when we were running slow, right? Like we were going really slow at that time.
It wasn't super strong. Yeah, because we were all in line. No one, like you passed me, but the power was behind me, and we were just moving. That was it.
Yeah, the primary strategy could have worked actually pretty well if you had pace. So, like, for instance, whoever it would have been that started on primes at that time, if they would have cycled to the lead and they were able to do those lap times, like the 63 range, low 63s, maybe high 62s, you would have stretched a big enough gap in those 10 laps to overcome for the time loss in pits, right? So either way could have worked, but the problem that we had is we just could pass, right? We had pace. Yeah. We could do mid high 62s if we wanted to, but we were stuck there doing mid 64s, and in 10 laps, that's 20 seconds. So why not do an extra pit stop? So it put us a little bit on the back foot, but as soon as everyone had to pit on the primes, we were able to hammer down some fast laps and kind of cover that strategy a little bit better. But if people were able to go a little bit longer, it would have been a bit of a nightmare for anybody that started on greens.
Yeah, when I saw that, there was a moment in the race, and this is exactly when I realized that sometimes you just get lucky in a motor racing event. because when Kiffin Simpson came out of the pits and Santino, and then the yellow came out right after that, I was like, oh man, these guys just made the call of a lifetime. And then when you guys, I assume you were restarting as the leader, or did you have to pass those two guys to get to the lead?
I had to pass them. So
So what did you think when you saw that? I mean, you were like, "There's no way this is happening," because Kiffin was in front of us, holding up our train a little bit at the beginning of the race, and then now he's in the top 3. That was wild.
Yeah. I mean, that was a tough pill to swallow because I actually wanted to pit earlier. Of course, street courses like overcuts are powerful; they always are. But we were catching traffic. Like I was in the lead and we were starting to run down some of those guys that needed to do another stop, and they were going slow. And I was catching them. And so on that lap that the yellow came out, I was like pretty much trying to convince Brian to pit us. And as soon as I got by, we could have made it in the pit lane and then the yellow would have came out. We would have cycled into the lead. Hindsight's 2020 with this stuff, of course. But I was really, really worried about catching the traffic and then Will Power pouncing on me because everyone knows that Will Power loves a good dive bomb. And if he's close enough to go for a lead, he's going to send it on me and drive me to the wall. So
obviously,
I was like,
Will Power, he's had your number all weekend.
I get scared when I see that guy near my gearbox now, dude. He just wants to mount it any chance he gets. But no, that was a weird situation, right? Like we were in our window, but we wanted to just go as long as possible. And it was just like perfect circumstances for both of those guys where they pit and the yellow comes out and they just cycle to the lead because everyone else has to pit. And honestly, I was a little scared doing a yellow flag stop because our pit stops have been good, but they haven't been Will Power good. Will Power their pit stop crew has been on it this year. And I was like, man, we need to figure out something. And my crew came alive. We were actually quicker than Will in pit lane, so that was epic. But then I still had Kiffin and Santino to pass from there, so I was running P3 after that yellow, and our restart pace for whatever reason was phenomenal.
Oh, dude, your guys' cars, watching any of what you guys are doing on cold tires is truly mind-blowing to me because I thought I was going to die for the first 4 laps, and I am full wheel, and you guys are just going. It's so impressive.
I don't know what it is, but like even on out laps when tires are cold, we have so much pace, and that was part of the reason why I was like ready to stop early because I was like, we have pace. Especially on cold tires, so why not do it? I don't think we're going to get overcut by doing this, and Will's probably going to catch this traffic too and slow him up. So that's what was playing in my mind. And then once we did that restart, like the car was still alive somehow, and we just had unreal pace. So I kind of just drove around both Kiffin. I tried to take my front wing off on Colton's car, not on Kiffin's car.
I did.
Wasn't proud of that. But
explain to me that because I only just found out like after seeing a clip of you crossing the finish line that your front wing was actually also broken.
Yeah, I know. I
what did you do? I haven't watched it yet.
I need to get my eyes checked or something.
Oh.
My depth perception was just off. But man, it was like I was coming up on him and I was just trying to do a late pop because I was like, I might be able to clear him if I just get as much of a toe as possible. That and you never want to go right on the straight because of how bumpy it is on the right side of the straight. It's awful, right? You just bottom all the way down and you just lose speed. So I was like waiting for the last possible second and like just the bumps kind of like throw you off a little bit there. And I just clipped my front wing the left front end fence on my wing on his rear right tire. And it just cracked my wing. And I saw it happen instantly. I watched my wing just like fly up when it happened because like the way the tires go, it's obviously going to make your wing go up. So I could literally just see I was like, oh my gosh, I just might just kill our race for something stupid like that. And then I proceeded to just like chop across his wing too. So I don't know what was going on with me at that moment, but my depth perception was not accurate.
You just wanted to win. That was it.
Yeah, I knew we had to get by because we had that restart piece, right? Like. But then I'm thinking about it, we couldn't pass guys in the middle of a stint, especially when we're doing like 64s, mid 60s. Oh, yeah. Like, so it was like, either I pass these guys now or I'm just going to sit behind Santino for the remainder of this race and watch them just get a lucky yellow and win the race. So I was just like, you know what, I got to send it right now. And fortunately, it worked out. Fortunately, the wing damage didn't cost us anything, and we were able to get by Santino cleanly. But yeah, I mean, that was a sketchy moment to say the least, because then I had to like back up the brake zones and stuff, and it was just took the ability to attack a little bit. So we were able, fortunately, we were able to clear guys on the straights and then like defend. But if it wasn't for that, we probably wouldn't have passed.
Whew, Chase. All right, I'm gonna let you jump in here. Sorry, we were going into it because I was actually with Kyle in some of the race, and we're getting into it. But
you boys were duking it out there. You know, you get a little tight in the talk. I gotta bring up last year there was some drama with Santino Ferrucci in the Andretti camp. Did you guys give him any shit on the podium this year from last year when he was up there with y'all?
What a podium, by the way! Goodness gracious, you're all the best friends
the
up there.
Sandwich.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we all love each other. No, I mean, Santino. He loves to stir the pot, and anytime that there's drama, he wants to be involved. But I mean, some people hate him, some people love him for it. I mean, last year was last year. I tend to forget about things pretty quickly. I had my own dramas this weekend with Will, so. That was all forgotten about. It was all in the past. But I mean, hats off to them. Although some people don't like Santino, I don't hate the kid. You know, I've grown up with him. I know him very, very well, and his family very well. And I also raced for AJ Foyt, and I drove that 14 car, and to see where they've come. Obviously, they have the technical alliance with Penske, which helps a lot. But like, it's cool to see like an underdog team like that succeed and do something cool. So it adds to the storyline, it adds to Fox, it adds to showing that this series is very diverse, and doing the right things can pay off, and it's not just Palou out there winning, you know. Street courses are lotteries in some ways, but you know, they did the right things, and they got a podium, so hats off to them for it.
Nice.
Well, I can't claim to be the biggest fan of Santino as a human, so I'm going to just go ahead and continue to say that. But hey, they made the right calls. Happy for that crew as well, the crew over there, because it's looked a lot recently like David Malukas has become the guy over there, and then he made a big mistake fencing Alex Palou. What did you think when you saw Alex Palou in the wall? Were you like, oh my gosh, finally something has gone wrong for him?
Yeah, I know. How long has it been since he's had something bad happen to him? It was
probably
Milwaukee
never.
last year. Milwaukee last year is where he had an engine failure or something. I think it was an hybrid failure, actually. Yeah, man, it was. I was still going for the win, but I also knew, like, if we just keep this thing on track, we're gonna have a good points day and get claw back at him a little bit. We're still over 100 points out from him, but it was a good day, right? Like, it was good to claw back at him a little bit, get some points, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of weird things happening out there. I think there's a couple of moments in the race that strike you, right? It was McLaughlin on Siegel, which
right behind me, by the way.
Twitter wars.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's really funny what's going on over there.
Twitter
I'm really
activity.
glad I'm not a part of it, but it's
man,
good.
I tell you what, love it. I almost wanted to put something out there because it is a wild world currently on the internet, and I think it's great. Twitter is turned up.
He locked in.
Yeah,
he locked in, dude. That's all that happened.
Like, I had a front row seat for that too, right? So I see both sides, but like, there's two things that happen in McLaughlin's situation. There's one, Nolan's trying to get his tires up. He was one of the guys that were like scared of cold tires, and it was sketchy for his car, and he couldn't get anything up. McLaughlin was on the other end of that spectrum. He was like on fire on restarts. I couldn't catch him, and I thought our restart pace was really good. So he's just instantly attacking as hard as he can, and Nolan's on the other end where he's braking like 100
super
earlier on a restart, right? Like, this is like first couple corners of a restart. So I get that he broke early, just kind of trying to protect his car, but then I also understand that McLaughlin was attacking. He had the pace, he had the grip, and that looked like a racing incident to me. I don't see that there's going to be a war wherever there's like a split decision on something like that. I think it's just funny that they're all bringing it up. And then the Malukas thing too, right? It looked like he was defending a little bit and he had somebody attacking him. I didn't see the replay from behind, but there's no other reason why he would be like kind of semi driving down the inside of the track. And then he just got in there too deep and everyone was stacked up. So Palou was going slower than what was necessary, but that's just because the nature of the track. Everyone's going slow, and he was just in there too deep. So that's once again another just racing incident, and that's just the nature of the circuit, you know.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. But this circuit, now I'm going to talk about in the show how this track for me, I think our cars maybe deserve a little bit better than this track. Obviously, you are the winner, so you want to come back here every weekend.
We're coming back, yeah. 3 more years, bro. We just re-signed. Come on now.
Oh, I know. Look, I understand. But, I mean, you said it yourself, though. The way this track works, and I'm trying to convey this to people, and even in my own mind, when you're kind of following each other in line and there's cars that are slower than others, it's so narrow and so, I would say, slippery that if you do take a chance and try to go for it, you're either definitely crashing or you're crashing the other person. You know what I mean?
In most parts of the circuit, yes.
Yeah, because there, a lot of the times you feel like, oh, well, I could have easily outbraked that car in front of me, but then you might put him in the wall, then you get a penalty, and then because there was a lot of moments like the Palou and the Malukas thing that you are like basically nose to gearbox, and you're trying to just make sure that we all fall in line so we don't hit each other, and then we get to the next corner. And I mean, it's just the nature of this track, I guess. But can you tell people at least kind of what goes through your mind of like, what's the risk versus reward for a place like this compared to a place like Long Beach?
Yeah, I mean, Long Beach, the difference is, right, is that we have all the corners are so low speed here. And I'm still here. I'm literally sitting above the track right now in a hotel. But it's the place is so slow that you don't get like the aero wash that you would at any other circuit. And like Long Beach, you have high speed corners, you got low speed corners, you got a bit of everything, and there's a lot more separation between the cars, so you can attack a lot harder to try and catch somebody. Here, it's such slow pace that whoever is like the slowest guy up at the front of the pack that's backing everyone up, everyone has to go that pace. And then given the fact that you don't get any aero wash, you can follow cars really closely. It gets enticing to just like outbrake this guy, and which is easy to do because everyone's going so slow, and it's just too inviting compared to all the other races that we go to. And that's what's creating these crashes, right? Like all the places that
the brake zones are so low grip too, except for turn 3. Like other than turn 3, you know, all the other brake zones are like, you might not make it if you try to go 10 feet later.
yeah, exactly. Like, and then when somebody actually does get alongside somebody, a lot of the corners like narrow up on exit. So like what is actually available on entry is not available on exit. So running 2 cars side by side is nearly impossible. Like the exit of 1, the exit of 4, exit of 5, like exit of 8 even was tough. And you just run out of room, right? So there's not enough room to run side by side like we have at every other circuit that we go to. So yeah, like you put it perfectly, right? Like you either pass and take yourself, you do a risky move, you take yourself out with another guy, or you take the other guy out with you, which in the eyes of race control that we've seen in the past is completely allowed. So people end up doing it, which I don't agree with, but
yes.
It happens. So
Chase, I'll let you jump in here.
Yeah, I want to pivot a little bit away from the race, talk a little bit more about this Siemens AWS partnership that you guys locked in. It kind of reminds me of like how OpenAI and Chip Ganassi are working together. I did a little bit of digging on it. What have you seen thus far? Or how is this going to kind of come into Andretti to help you guys unlock more on the tech side of things?
Yeah, so We've had an alliance with them for many, many years, actually 28 years to be exact. They've been on all of our mirrors forever. They've always been on our mirrors, and maybe people have seen that, maybe people haven't, but they've been around forever. And that's been a technical alliance. We use their products, and that's where
they're on the garage. I have my Andretti garage board right behind me, and Siemens is on my mirror.
Exactly.
From when I raced the team.
Exactly. They've been around forever, right? And this was a deal that came up for the 500, obviously, and they were on board as a primary. And this is the first time that we've had them as a primary. It's the first time that we've had them in this position, and this was like perfect case scenario for them because they're based out of Plano, Texas. But all of their executives and a lot of things that happen are up here in Detroit. So they had 100+ people out here. And for us to win here, they told me, they were like, this was bigger than you winning the 500 with the side with Siemens on the side of the car. So this was massive. AWS was kind of they're a partner of Siemens, right? AWS uses them, so does Microsoft on Marcus's car, and that was kind of just an alliance deal with them. But no, it's big, right? Like this was a big weekend for them. Hopefully we can keep them on. Great group of people to work with. They work closely with the team with some of their software tools. So yeah, they've been a big part of the team. So it's not anything new, but this is the first time that we've had them in this capacity.
Nice. It's huge,
I love
man.
That. Yeah.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about your Indy 500. Obviously, there was some stuff that went on and, got a finish, taken away, which is a bit of a shame. But let's not talk about the technical infringements, but let's talk about what you enjoyed about the race. Because I would say you guys had a solid race. You guys raced your way up from kind of not the most ideal starting spot. And like I talked to you early on in the practice week of Indy, I was like, I thought you were going to be on the front row. Yeah. And that obviously changed a little bit. But talk a little bit about your month of May and what you kind of, what you thought of it overall.
Yeah, I mean, I was confused of our quali pace, that's for sure. Leading up into the week, we were like top 3 no-toes every single day. And that was like with the most downforce out of any car out there. And we were like, dude, if we're not on the front row, this is going to be disappointing. And then we go out there and we qualify 25th. And it was just a complete head scratcher. And we ended up finding that a stay on our floor was starting to break and cause the floor to start sagging, which we don't know if we can contribute the pace loss due to that because it was so minute, but it's possible, right? It's possible. That's the only conclusion that we've come up with. And then we go back into race trim. Everything's great. But we've started 23rd, obviously, because of the Penske penalties, even though we qualified 25th. And we had a good race, right? Like we lost a lot of positions in pit lane, not going to lie. We felt to the back pretty much twice in the beginning of the race and had to claw our way back. But our second half of the race, the last 100 laps was great. Like we just kept moving forward. And I know you had a failure. We got by you in that last stint. And then also Santino had a huge blowout understeer. We were able to pick off 6. We weren't going to drive through the field like I thought we might be able to based on practice. But yeah, I mean, it was good. We had a ton of tire deg. I don't know if you had that too, Connor, but dude, the deg was way, way worse in the race than what we had.
What was your
practice.
longest stint on tires? Were you on that fuel save strategy where you had to go like over 30 laps in the last 2 stints?
Yeah. Every stint that I did, I was doing like 34 laps, I think. So it was deep into the stint. I was hitting a big fuel number, and by the last 10 laps, you're just like hanging on to the thing. I got clear track at one point, like trying to do a big overcut and running flat out, which would have worked out great for us, but we couldn't run flat out because I was just like getting ready to put it into the wall. So yeah, it was sketchy running tires that long. I'm not gonna lie, which was never showed in practice. Like we were like, these tires
Completely
go forever.
Agree.
It was like,
Completely
tires are
agree.
going to go forever. We're not going to have an issue. Tire deg is not even a thought, so don't even worry about it. And we get into the race and we actually do a full stint, and it's like, oh my God, these things are dying after like 18 laps. So yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah, that was definitely a tough one. But I mean, you know what? What happened to you guys? Obviously, that sucks overall. Big deal, big story. I don't want to get too deep into that one because it seems like there's a lot of wild stuff going on recently, and now everyone's under the microscope, it seems, and we're all getting, we're locked in on the tech side. So it happens. Obviously, we've seen this in motorsport before. I had my first qualifying run thrown out on qualifying weekend. Like, everyone seems to be just locked in. So, hey, it happens. You got to move on. You obviously had a great rebound, and I mean, you think it's still possible to take the fight to Palou? I mean, the guy has to obviously have a really bad stretch. But
yeah,
I mean, how confident do you guys feel?
Like he's not going to have a bad stretch. Like, yeah, unfortunately, we just gotta. The way I look at it is like we gotta beat him by 12 points every weekend, which means like I gotta win every single race from here on out because he's likely to finish second or third in most of these races. So,
time to train, dog. Yeah.
The guy is impossible to beat. And you know what? Like, Ganassi did not have a good weekend this past weekend, and he still was like fighting for the win in stages of the race. So like the guy's just on fire. Like, none of his teammates were close in qualifying, and he still sticks it in the Fast Six. Yeah, it's hard to compete with that guy, and we're gonna go now to Gateway. I think we can beat him at, but we're gonna go to like Road America, Laguna. Where else do we go? Mid Ohio, Portland, like where he's been epic, you know. And it's gonna be hard to beat him at those places. But those will be the races where he'll be a true teller, like who can actually give him a fight for the championship. It's kind of coming down to, I think, Pato and I in some ways. Maybe Lundgaard can put a stick to him a little bit, but we know McLaren's been good at some of these road courses, some of the ovals that we go to. They've been really strong. So like if Pato, myself, or Lundgaard end up having like a good closeout to the season on the ovals and road courses, like we could definitely claw back at them. It's not over yet, so there's still 9 races to go.
I certainly hope we see some craziness. Maybe, and now again, as you said, it's difficult to, when a team at that level and a driver at that level, that they're doing every weekend perfectly, right? And if perfect for them that weekend is going to be third, they're going to finish third. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's definitely a challenging one. But I appreciate the fact that you've come to chat with us again. Honestly, I really hope someone else wins. I would like to win St. Louis personally because I love that race, and that would be nice to do.
It's so cool. I love that place.
Love that one a lot. Sunday night prime time. But we appreciate that you've shown up here for us. I would like for you to actually give us a year for the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week. We would like you to select a year of the Indy 500 so that we can go learn more about a driver that we did not know about before.
What year were you born?
I was born in 91.
All right, 1991.
Okay.
That's my year.
All right.
All right.
We'll find someone in 1991 to talk about. But Kyle, we appreciate you. Enjoy your week off. I'm sure you're going to be fishing or doing some sort of boat activity.
Something on the water, away from my phone.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be great. We appreciate you, Kyle.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
We appreciate Kyle Kirkwood giving us his thoughts and giving us a year for the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week, which we will get to. As we mentioned, it's an off week. So next week, we'll have to figure out who to talk to. Maybe we can get someone real just out there. Maybe real different. We'll see. But either way, it's going to be a great conversation about IndyCar racing. I also watched the NASCAR race Sunday night. Thankfully, the Detroit race happens early enough in the day to where I can drive immediately home and get home in time to watch the NASCAR race Sunday night.
Incredible.
Which also, there was a certain part of the internet that was like upset that there was going to be a Sunday night primetime race. Well, they had a sold out crowd on Sunday night, so I don't want to hear anyone complaining about that. I thought it was a great race at Nashville, and I can't wait to go back and race at Nashville Superspeedway. But Sunday night primetime seems to work, so I don't want to say anything. I just have a question. I was like, why is that bad? Because Sunday night for them, they can sell out the crowd, and now obviously I know NASCAR is bigger than us. I do by a long way. I do understand that, but it is possible to make it work. So. I wanted to say that I was like, oh, that's cool. And it was on Prime, and I was watching it, and they had a sold out crowd. I love the Nashville Superspeedway now, so I'm a big fan of that track. So yeah, anyway, that was what I had to say.
Shout out to Yerb, Ryan Blaney. I call him Yerb. Great guy. Glad to see him win.
Ryan Blaney. Yeah. Congrats to Ryan Blaney and Team Penske. All right, let's finish off this show with the Ricky Treadway, Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week.
The greatest event of its kind that's ever been run on.
Let's meet the drivers. We'll make up the field.
So Kyle Kirkwood gave us the 1991 year, which again, all these names, because it's more recent, I feel like we're familiar with them. But let's go with one that if you don't know about this driver, you probably should. But let's recognize them. We're going to go with the 29th place finisher, Kevin Cogan. Kevin Cogan. Now, again, a lot of people will say, hey, this is probably not that random, including myself. But producer Bobby suggested this. This was a great idea, and I agree with this as well. Kevin Cogan did a lot of Indy 500s. So Kevin Cogan also still alive. That's great. Yeah. Shout out Kevin Cogan. Kevin Cogan, during qualifying in 1982, now this says 1982 Indy 500 controversy. Cogan set a new one-lap track record of 204.638 miles per hour and a record four-lap average of 204.082. He was beaten only by his teammate, Rick Mears. And we know Rick Mears is the GOAT. One of the GOATs, for sure.
True.
Cogan started from the middle of the front row next to pole sitter Mears and A.J. Foyt. As the field approached the start-finish line to start the race, Cogan suddenly swerved right, touching and bouncing off Foyt's car and directly into the path of and collecting Mario Andretti. The cars of Dale Whittington and Roger Mears deeper in the field were also damaged due to the field checking up. Bobby Rahal also reported getting hit from behind, but was undamaged. The race was immediately red flagged. Wow, Kevin Cogan did a Scott McLaughlin. That's wild.
That seems a little worse than a Scott McLaughlin.
This is definitely worse. This is definitely worse, but I mean, this is a well-timed Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week.
True.
Cogan's shocking accident took out 4 cars, including himself and Andretti. Foyt's team was able to make repairs, pushed his car out for the restart attempt. Meanwhile, Andretti and Foyt were furious and outspoken about their displeasure with Cogan. Andretti shunned Cogan's attempts to explain himself with a light shove. Wow, that's wild. There's a lot of controversy if you look at this one. There's a whole couple paragraphs on this incident. This is a wild one. If you want to read a real story, like I actually did not know this story, to be fair. I do believe I knew about the accident, but I didn't know about all the side and drama around it.
So he was looking for trouble.
Yeah.
That's what they're claiming that Cogan was looking for trouble, kind of a troublemaker. Mr.
Yeah,
Cogan.
maybe. So anyway,
that was footage online.
Yeah, that's a wild one. So let's kind of get into his Indy 500 history. 1981, basically every year, 81 through 93, but he missed 92. So that's a lot of Indy 500s. Also, he was teammates with my father at Le Mans in 1988 for the Silk Cut Jag team. It looks like he was teammates, and I believe I remember this, my dad telling me this, but teammates with my dad in the Jaguar at Le Mans in 1988. So that's kind of wild. But that's our Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week.
Mr. Cogan. He does have a great trading card, I will say. I found a trading card of him online. It's where he's just standing on a bike, and it's autographed by him, and I kind of want it.
Nice.
I'm going to send you a picture of it. I think you'll appreciate it.
That's wild. Apparently, Cogan declined invitations to be interviewed for the centennial era of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 2009, in which many IndyCar legends and IndyCar drivers were interviewed by ESPN. Cogan also refused invitations to participate in Indy 500 festivities during the 100th anniversary of the race in 2011. That's wild. He granted a rare interview in 2015 about his life, noting that he has lingering pain from the crashes he suffered in racing. Man, that's tough. I kind of want to read more into this. Kevin Cogan is our Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week this week. Wild story. Sounds like, man, that's a tough one.
Could spend the rest of my day researching Kevin Cogan stories.
Yeah.
Dude.
I didn't know all this drama. So anyway, there's a good story for you. I'm sure there are a lot of people that will be getting into my mentions and responses on the tweets, the Twitters, about what was going on. But I enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you all watched the Detroit race. We had a very interesting day. So we'll go with that. Tune in for next week. Can't wait for whoever we're going to interview. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then we're going to be previewing the next race. Obviously, we're not doing any previews this week because we got the weekend off. But next week, we're previewing St. Louis. So we appreciate you folks.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week on the Speed Street podcast. Hey everyone, Connor Daly here. Please leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it, and also subscribe to the channel as well. That would be very helpful. Be a friend, tell a friend. Thank you so much for the support, and we'll see you on the next episode of Speed Street.